Mr. Utterson, a stern lawyer, walks with his distant kinsman, Mr. Enfield. Utterson is known for his austere demeanor and tolerance for others. Enfield is a well-known man about town, but their bond is a mystery to many. They walk down a quiet yet bustling street in London. The street is clean and inviting, with shops that stand out in the neighborhood. Utterson and Enfield seem dull and uninterested, but cherish these walks. They resist calls of business to enjoy these excursions uninterrupted. The street is quiet on Sunday, but still stands out with its cleanliness. The shops have an air of invitation, like rows of smiling saleswomen. The street shines out in contrast to its dingy neighborhood. Utterson and Enfield hail with relief the appearance of a friend. They count these walks as the chief jewel of each week. Utterson has an approved tolerance for others, often helping rather than reproving. He is the last reputable acquaintance for many down-going men. Utterson's friends are those of his own blood or those he has known the longest. His affections grow with time, implying no aptness in the object. 2 doors from the corner, a court entry breaks the line of buildings. A sinister 2-story building thrusts forward, showing no windows. The doors blistered and stained, with no bell or knocker. Tramps and children loiter around the entrance. Did you ever mark that door? Yes, I have. It is connected in my mind with a very odd story. Indeed? And what was that? Mr. Enfield and Mr. Utterson stand on the other side of the by-street. Mr. Enfield lifts his cane and points at the door. Well, it was this way. I was coming home from someplace, at the end of the world. It was about 3 o'clock of a black winter morning. My way lay through a part of town where there was literally nothing to be seen but lamps. Street after street, and all the folks asleep. All at once, I saw 2 figures. One a little man who was stumping along eastward. The other a girl of maybe 8 or 10 who was running. The 2 ran into one another at the corner. The man trampled calmly over the child's body. It wasn't like a man, it was like some damn juggernaut. I gave a few halloa, took to my heels, collared my gentleman. The people who had turned out were the girl's own family. The doctor put in his appearance. The child was not much the worse, more frightened. The doctor's case was what struck me. He was like the rest of us. Every time he looked at my prisoner, he turned sick and white. We told the man we could and would make such a scandal out of this. We spurred him up to £100 for the child's family. The man leads them to a mysterious door. He whipped out a key, went in, and came back with the money. The signature was good for more than that, if it was only genuine. We all set off to the bank the next day. The check was genuine. Tut tut. I see you feel as I do. It's a bad story. My man was a fellow that nobody could have to do with. The person that drew the check is the very pink of the proprieties. Blackmail, I suppose. An honest man paying through the nose. And you don't know if the drawer of the check lives there? A likely place, isn't it? But I happen to have noticed his address. And he never asked about the place with the door? No, sir. I had a delicacy. I make it a rule of mine. A very good rule, too. It seems scarcely a house. There is no other door. That's a good rule of yours. Yes, I think it is. There's one point I want to ask. The name of that man. It was a man of the name of Hyde. What sort of a man is he to see? He is not easy to describe. There is something wrong with his appearance. He must be deformed somewhere. He gives a strong feeling of deformity. You are sure he used a key? The fellow had a key, and what's more, he has it still. I shake hands on that, Richard. Mr. Utterson returns home in somber spirits. He sits down to dinner without relish. He takes a candle and goes into his business room. He opens his safe and retrieves Dr. Jekyll's will. He studies the will with a clouded brow. I thought it was madness, and now I begin to fear it is disgrace. He blows out his candle, puts on a greatcoat, and sets forth. Mr. Utterson thinks they have only differed on some point of science. He adds, "It is nothing worse than that." Utterson gives Lanyon a few seconds to recover. "Did you ever come across a protege of his, one Hyde?" Lanyon repeats, "Hyde? Never heard of him." Utterson tosses and turns, his mind racing. He imagines Enfield's tale, a child running from a doctor. He sees a man walking swiftly, trotting a child down. Utterson envisions a room where his friend lies asleep. A figure stands by his side, recalling him from his dreams. The figure haunts Utterson, moving through the city. Utterson's curiosity grows to see Hyde's face. He thinks, "If you be Mr. Hyde, I shall be Mr. C." Mr. Utterson stands at his post, waiting. He hears an odd light footstep drawing near. "Mr. Hyde, I think?" "That is my name. What do you want?" "I am an old friend of Dr. Jekyll's." "You will not find Dr. Jekyll. He is from home." "How did you know me?" "On your side. Will you do me a favor?" "With pleasure. What shall it be?" "Will you let me see your face?" "It is as well we have met. By description." "Whose description?" "We have common friends." "He never told you. I did not think you would lie." "That is not fitting language." Mr. Hyde snarls and quickly unlocks the door. Mr. Hyde disappears into the house. Mr. Utterson ponders Mr. Hyde's strange appearance and behavior. There must be something else. There is something more. The man seems hardly human. Something troglodytic? Is it the mere radiance of a foul soul? If ever I read Satan's signature upon a face, it is on that of your new friend. Utterson stops at a grand house, second from the corner. "Is Dr. Jekyll at Elmpool?" "I will see Mr. Utterson." "Will you wait here by the fire, sir?" "Here, thank you." Utterson shudders, remembering Hyde's face. The firelight flickers ominously. Dr. Jekyll is gone out. I saw Mr. Hyde go in by the old dissecting room. Mr. Hyde has a key. Your master reposes a great deal of trust in that young man. We have all orders to obey him. I do not think I ever met Mr. Hyde. He never dines here. He mostly comes and goes by the laboratory. Well, good night, Poole. Good night, Mr. Utterson. The lawyer walks home, his heart heavy with concern. He thinks about Harry Jekyll's past and fears for his friend. Utterson reflects on his own past, hoping he has avoided major sins. He considers the secrets of Mr. Hyde and the danger he poses. Utterson resolves to help Jekyll if Jekyll will let him. Utterson remembers the strange clauses of Jekyll's will. 2 weeks later, Utterson attends a dinner at Jekyll's house. Utterson stays behind after the other guests leave. "I have been wanting to speak to you, Jekyll." "You know that will of yours?" "My poor Utterson, you are unfortunate in such a client. I never saw a man so distressed as you were by my will. I have been learning something of young Hyde. I do not care to hear more. This is a matter I thought we had agreed to drop. What I heard was abominable. It can make no change. You do not understand my position. Jekyll, you know me. I am a man to be trusted. Make a clean breast of this in confidence. I can get you out of it. My good Utterson, this is very good of you. I cannot find words to thank you. It isn't what you fancy. It is not as bad as that. The moment I choose, I can be rid of Mr. Hyde. This is a private matter. Let it sleep." Utterson reflects, staring into the fire. "I have no doubt you are perfectly right. Since we have touched upon this business, I have a great interest in poor Hyde. I fear he was rude, but I take a great interest in him. If I am taken away, bear with him and get his rights. I can't pretend that I shall ever like him. I only ask for justice. Help him for my sake." Utterson heaves an irrepressible sigh. Well, I promise. Nearly a year later, in October, London is startled by a brutal crime. A maidservant goes upstairs to bed about 11. The lane outside is brilliantly lit by the full moon. Never had she felt more at peace with all men. She sees an aged, beautiful gentleman with white hair. Another man, Mr. Hyde, approaches with a heavy cane. Mr. Hyde suddenly breaks out in a great flame of anger. He claps the old gentleman to the earth. Mr. Hyde tramples his victim underfoot, hailing down blows. The horror of these sights and sounds makes her faint. Mr. Utterson recognizes the cane as one he gave to Henry Jekyll.
Is this Mr. Hyde a person of small stature?
Particularly small and wicked-looking, the maid says. If you will come with me in my cab, I think I can take you to his house. The cab crawls through the foggy streets of Soho. Mr. Utterson reflects on the gloomy surroundings and his companion. The cab stops in front of a dingy street in Soho. An ivory-faced, silvery-haired old woman opens the door. This is Mr. Hyde's, but he is not at home. We wish to see his rooms. It is impossible. This is Inspector Newcomen of Scotland Yard.
He is in trouble. What has he done?
He doesn't seem a very popular character. Let me and this gentleman have a look about us. Mr. Hyde's house is luxurious but ransacked. Clothes and drawers are in disarray. A pile of ashes and a checkbook are on the hearth. I have it in my hand. He must have lost his head. He never would have left a stick or burned the checkbook. Money's life to the man. We wait for him at the bank. This is not easy. Hyde had few familiars. He has never been photographed. Descriptions vary. Only one point agreed: a sense of deformity. Mr. Utterson visits Dr. Jekyll's laboratory. The laboratory is dingy and filled with chemical apparatus. Dr. Jekyll sits by the fire, looking sick.
You have heard the news?
They were crying it in the square. Cruel was my client, but so are you. I swear to God, I will never set eyes on him again. It is all at an end. He is safe. The lawyer listens gloomily, noting his friend's feverish manner. You seem pretty sure of him. I am quite sure of him. I have grounds for certainty. I hope you may be right. If it came to a trial, your name might appear. I have received a letter. I am at a loss whether I should show it to the police.
You fear it might lead to his detection?
I cannot say that I care what becomes of Hyde. I was thinking of my own character. Let me see the letter. It was written in an odd, upright hand and signed Edward Hyde.
Have you the envelope?
I burned it. It bore no postmark.
Shall I keep this and sleep upon it?
I wish you to judge for me entirely. I have lost confidence in myself.
It was Hyde who dictated the terms in your will about that disappearance?
Yes, it was Hyde. He meant to murder you. You had a fine escape. I have had what is far more to the purpose. I have had a lesson. The lawyer stops and speaks with Poole on his way out.
There was a letter handed in today. What was the messenger like?
Poole is positive. Nothing had come except by post. Utterson sits by the fire, desk across from him. A bottle of aged wine rests between them. This is a sad business about Sir Danvers. Yes, sir, and has elicited a great deal of public feeling. I have a document here in his handwriting. It's between us. No, sir, not mad, but it is an odd hand. And by all accounts, a very odd writer. A servant enters with a note. Is that from Dr. Jekyll, sir? I thought I knew the writing.
Only an invitation to dinner. Why? Do you want to see it?
One moment. Thank you, sir. Guest compares the two handwritings. It's a very interesting autograph.
Why did you compare them, Guest?
The two hands are in many points identical. I wouldn't speak of this note, you know. No, sir. I understand. Utterson walks the note into his safe after Guest leaves.
Henry Jekyll forged for a murderer.
Time passes. Thousands of pounds are offered for Hyde's capture. Hyde's past is unearthed, revealing a life of cruelty and violence. Utterson begins to recover from his alarm, finding peace in Hyde's disappearance. Dr. Jekyll emerges from seclusion, renewing friendships and charities. Utterson dines with Jekyll and Lanyon on January 8th. On January 12th and 14th, Utterson is refused entry to Jekyll's house. Utterson visits Lanyon, finding him visibly ill and terrified.
Jekyll is ill too. Have you seen him?
I wish to see or hear no more of Dr. Jekyll. I am quite done with that person. I regard him as dead. Can't I do anything? We are old friends. Nothing can be done. Ask Jekyll himself. He will not see me. I am not surprised. Someday you may learn the truth. If you can talk of other things, stay. Otherwise, go. Utterson sits down and writes to Jekyll. Utterson complains of his exclusion from Jekyll's house. Utterson asks the cause of the break with Lanyon. Jekyll's response arrives the next day. Jekyll writes, "The quarrel with Lanyon is incurable." Jekyll plans to lead a life of extreme seclusion. Utterson is amazed by Jekyll's sudden change. Utterson thinks so great and unprepared a change points to madness. Utterson thinks, but in view of Lanyon's manner and words, there must lie for it some deeper ground. A week later, Dr. Lanyon takes to his bed. Lanyon dies in less than a fortnight. Utterson locks his business room door. Utterson opens an envelope from Lanyon. Utterson thinks, I have buried one friend today. What if this should cost me another? Utterson opens the inner envelope, marked for his eyes only after Jekyll's death. Well, that story's at an end at least. We shall never see more of Mr. Hyde.
I hope not. Did I ever tell you that I once saw him and shared your feeling of repulsion?
It was impossible to do the one without the other.
What an ass you must have thought me, not to know this was a back way to Dr. Jekyll's.
So you found it out, did you? We may step into the court and take a look at the windows. I am uneasy about poor Jekyll. The presence of a friend might do him good. The court is cool, damp, and full of premature twilight. Dr. Jekyll sits by the window, looking sad. Jekyll, I trust you are better. I am very low, Utterson. It will not last long, thank God. You stay too much indoors. You should be out, whipping up the circulation. I would like to, but it is quite impossible. I dare not. The best thing we can do is to stay down here and speak with you from where we are. That is just what I was about to propose. Dr. Jekyll's face suddenly shows abject terror and despair. The window is thrust down. Utterson and Enfield turn and leave the court in silence.
Thou play! What does the man mean? I daren't say, sir. Will you come along and see for yourself?
Mr. Utterson rises, grabs his hat and coat. Poole's face shows great relief. The wine remains untouched on the tray. Thank you, sir.
Was that my master's voice?
It seems much changed. Master's made away with. He was murdered 8 days ago. This is a very strange tale, Poole. All this last week, he's been crying for medicine.
Have you any of these papers?
The man at Ma's was angry and threw it back. This is unquestionably the doctor's hand. I've seen him. He had a mask on his face.
Seen him? Well?
He cried out like a rat and ran from me. Poole's face contorts with fear and confusion. Utterson's expression turns grave, his eyes narrowing as he processes the information. The candlelight flickers, casting long, dancing shadows across the kitchen walls. These are strange circumstances, but I see daylight. Your master is ill, Poole. That explains the voice change. The mask and avoidance of friends make sense. He seeks a drug for recovery. God grant he's not deceived. This explanation is sad, but natural. Sir, that thing was not my master. My master is tall and fine. That was a dwarf. Poole, if you say that, I must act.
Ah, Mr. Utterson, that's talking. Who will break in the door?
You and me, sir. I'll ensure you're not a loser. There is an axe in the theater. Take the kitchen poker for yourself. We're in peril. Let's be frank. I think it was Mr. Hyde. I felt something queer about Hyde, too. It was Mr. Hyde. I'm sure of it. I fear evil from that connection. Call Bradshaw. Pull yourself together, Bradshaw. This suspense is telling on all of you. Poole and I are going to force our way into the cabinet. You and the boy must go round the corner with sticks. We give you 10 minutes to get to your stations. Bradshaw leaves the room. And now, Poole, let us get to ours. They enter the yard. It's dark and windy. So we'll walk all day, sir. It's an ill conscience that's such an enemy to rest.
Is there never anything else?
Once I heard it weeping like a lost soul.
Weeping? How that?
Weeping like a woman or a lost soul. The 10 minutes are up. They prepare to break down the door. Jekyll, I demand to see you. I must and shall see you by brute force if necessary.
For God's sake, have mercy. That's not Jekyll's voice. It's Hyde's.
Poole swings the axe, breaking down the door. A body lies contorted and twitching on the floor. Utterson and Poole approach the body cautiously. We've come too late. Hyde is gone. We must find Jekyll's body. They search the building thoroughly. He must be buried here. Or he may have fled. The key is broken, sir. This is beyond me, Poole. They return to the cabinet, examining its contents. That's the same drug I always brought him. A kettle boils over, startling them. They find a pious book annotated with blasphemies. This glass has seen some strange things, sir.
What could Jekyll want with it?
Utterson and Poole examine the desk. Utterson opens the envelope. Papers fall out. He has been all these days in possession. He must have raged to see himself displaced. He has not destroyed this document.
Why don't you read it, sir? Because I fear, Godbrand, I have no cause for it.
Utterson reads the letter aloud. When this shall fall into your hands, I shall have disappeared. Go then, and first read the narrative which Lanyon warned me he was to place in your hands. Your unworthy and unhappy friend, Henry Jekyll.
There was a third enclosure?
Here, sir. I would say nothing of this paper. If your master has fled or is dead, we may at least save his credit. Utterson and Poole leave the study, locking the door behind them. I must go home and read these documents in quiet. Dr. Lanyon reads a desperate letter from Henry Jekyll. Lanyon is instructed to postpone all engagements. He must take a cab to Jekyll's house immediately. Poole, Jekyll's butler, will be waiting with a locksmith. Lanyon must force open Jekyll's cabinet door. He is to open the glazed press marked E. Lanyon must draw out the fourth drawer from the top. The drawer contains powders, a file, and a paper book. Lanyon is to bring the drawer back to Cavendish Square. At midnight, he must admit a messenger sent by Jekyll. The messenger will take the drawer from Lanyon. Jekyll warns of dire consequences if Lanyon fails. Lanyon rises from his chair, determined to follow the instructions. He gets into a hansom cab and drives to Jekyll's house. Poole, the butler, is waiting with a locksmith and a carpenter. They move to Jekyll's private cabinet. The locksmith struggles with the door for 2 hours. Finally, the door is forced open. Lanyon takes out the specified drawer and returns to Cavendish Square. Dr. Letter examines the contents of a mysterious package. He finds powders and a phial of red liquid. The notebook contains dates and brief remarks. Dr. Letter loads an old revolver for self-defense. The door knocker sounds gently at midnight.
Are you come from Dr. Jekyll?
Yes. The visitor glances back into the darkness. A policeman approaches with a bull's eye open. The visitor starts and hastens inside. Dr. Letter keeps his hand on his weapon. The visitor has a shocking expression and odd symptoms. Dr. Letter feels a strange disturbance near the visitor. A visitor enters, dressed in oversized, ill-fitting clothes.
Have you got it? Have you got it?
Come, sir. You forget I don't know you. Be seated.
I beg your pardon, Dr. Lanyon. It come from Dr. Jekyll.
I understood a drawer. There it is, sir. The visitor springs to the drawer, then pauses, hand on heart. Compose yourself.
Have you a graduated glass?
The visitor mixes a red tincture and powder, watching intently. The mixture changes color, from red to purple to green. Thank you. The visitor turns and looks at Dr. Lanyon with scrutiny.
Will you be wise? Will you be guided?
Think before you answer, for it shall be done as you decide. You speak enigmas. I hear you with no very strong impression of belief. I have gone too far in the way of inexplicable services to pause before I see the end. It is well. Lanyon, you remember your vows?
Behold!
Hyde puts the glass to his lips and drinks at one gulp. Hyde reels, staggers, and clutches at the table, staring with injected eyes. Lanyon weeps back against the wall, arms raised in terror.
Oh God! Oh God!
Henry Jekyll stands before Lanyon, pale and shaken. Lanyon's mind is submerged in terror, his soul sickened by the sight. My life is shaken to its roots. Sleep has left me. The creature who crept into my house that night was known by the name of Hyde. I was born in the year 18, to a large fortune, endowed with excellent parts, inclined to industry, fond of the respect of the wise and good, with every guarantee of an honorable future. The worst of my faults was an impatient gaiety. I concealed my pleasures, hiding them with shame. I stood committed to a profound duplicity of life. Many a man would have blazoned such irregularities, but I hid them with an almost morbid sense of shame. It was my aspirations that made me what I was. I was driven to reflect on that hard law of life. I was no more myself when I laid aside restraint. I labored in the eye of day at knowledge. My scientific studies led towards the mystic. I drew steadily nearer to that truth. That man is not truly one, but truly two. I learned to recognize the duality of man. I dwelt with pleasure on the thought of separation. The unjust might go his way, delivered from remorse. The just can walk steadfastly on his upward path. I was so far in my reflections when a sidelight began to shine upon the subject from the laboratory table. I began to perceive more deeply the trembling immateriality of this seemingly solid body. Certain agents I found to have the power to shake and pluck back that fleshly destin. I will not enter deeply into this scientific branch of my confession. I recognize my natural body from the mere aura and effulgence of certain of the powers that made up my spirit. I managed to compound a drug by which these powers should be dethroned from their supremacy. I hesitated long before I put this theory to the test of practice. I knew well that I risked death. The temptation of a discovery so singular and profound at last overcame the suggestions of alarm. I purchased a large quantity of a particular salt, which I knew to be the last ingredient required. Late one accursed night, I compounded the elements, watched them boil, and smoked together in the glass. With a strong glow of courage, drank off the potion. The most racking pangs succeeded, a grinding in the bones, deadly nausea, and a horror of the spirit. Then these agonies began swiftly to subside, and I came to myself as if out of a great sickness. I felt younger, lighter, happier in body. I knew myself, at the first breath of this new life, to be more wicked, tenfold more wicked. I stretched out my hands, exulting in the freshness of these sensations. I was suddenly aware that I had lost in stature. Henry Jekyll speaks of his transformation. The evil side of his nature is less robust. Edward Hyde is smaller, slighter, and younger. Good and evil are written on their faces. Hyde's face bears an imprint of deformity. Jekyll sees Hyde as natural and human. Hyde seems more single and express. Jekyll hurries back to his cabinet. He prepares and drinks the potion. He suffers the pangs of dissolution. Jekyll returns to his original form. He reflects on the fatal crossroads. The drug shakes the doors of his disposition. His evil, kept awake by ambition, seizes the occasion. The movement is wholly toward the worst. Even then, I struggled with the dryness of academic life. I found pleasure in undignified activities, despite my reputation. My new power tempted me, allowing me to become Edward Hyde. I prepared meticulously, furnishing a house in Soho for Hyde. I hired a silent, unscrupulous housekeeper to keep secrets. I announced to my servants that Mr. Hyde would have full access to my house. I drew up a will to ensure financial continuity between my identities. I began to enjoy the strange immunities of my dual existence. Men have hired others to commit crimes, but I did it for pleasure. I could switch from respectable professor to free-spirited Hyde in an instant. In my laboratory, I kept a potion ready to transform back to Jekyll. Hyde's pleasures soon turned monstrous, shocking even me. Hyde was inherently malign, drinking pleasure from torture. Jekyll often woke to find Hyde's evil deeds, but his conscience slumbered. Jekyll would try to undo Hyde's wrongs, believing himself innocent. Henry Jekyll wakes up with a strange sensation. He looks around the room, recognizing the familiar surroundings. He notices his hand, which looks different. He stares at his hand in disbelief. Terror strikes as he realizes he has awakened as Edward Hyde. He rushes to the mirror, seeing his transformed reflection. He panics, wondering how to remedy the situation. He remembers the servants are used to Hyde's presence. He dresses quickly in his own clothes. He passes through the house, startling the servant, Bradshaw. He returns to his own shape, sitting down to breakfast. Dr. Jekyll's appetite is small, his mind troubled. He reflects on his double existence and the danger it poses. The power of the drug has been unpredictable. He realizes he is losing control over his transformations. Jekyll and Hyde share memories, but little else. Jekyll enjoys Hyde's pleasures, but Hyde is indifferent to Jekyll. Jekyll must choose between his two natures. Choosing Jekyll means giving up Hyde's freedoms. Choosing Hyde means losing Jekyll's aspirations and friendships. Jekyll chooses the better part, but struggles to keep to it. He resolves to be true to his determination for 2 months. Time dulls his alarm, and he begins to long for Hyde's freedom. I preferred the elderly and discontented doctor. I bade a resolute farewell to the liberty of Hyde. He keeps Hyde's clothes and house a secret reservation. For 2 months, he leads a life of severity and conscience. But time and longing for Hyde's freedom return. In a moment of weakness, he compounds and swallows the draught. Jekyll reflects on his moral insensibility. He drinks the potion, transforming into Hyde. Hyde's evil spirit awakens, and he attacks his victim. Hyde revels in his crime, then flees in terror. Hyde returns to Jekyll's house, destroying incriminating papers. Hyde drinks the potion, transforming back into Jekyll. I see my wife as a whole from childhood to these horrors. Jekyll prays, seeking to smother his memories of evil. I embrace the restrictions of natural life. Jekyll locks the door to the transformation room. The next day, news of the murder reaches Jekyll. Jekyll is glad his better impulses are guarded by fear. Let Hyde peep out, and all men will slay him. Jekyll resolves to redeem his past mistakes. He reflects on his recent good deeds. Jekyll enjoys his beneficent life, but struggles with duality. His evil side begins to growl for freedom. Jekyll sits in the park, enjoying the sun. He compares himself to his neighbors, feeling superior. A sudden nausea and shudder overtake him. Jekyll looks down, seeing his transformed body. He realizes he has turned into Edward Hyde. Jekyll's mind races, trying to solve the problem. He remembers he can write in his own hand. The way forward becomes clear to him. The man's appearance is comical, yet tragic. The driver struggles to hide his laughter. The man gnashes his teeth, eyes filled with fury. The driver's smile fades as the man's rage intensifies. The man enters an inn, his dark countenance striking fear. Attendants tremble, taking his orders without a word. The man composes 2 letters, his hands shaking. He sits alone, gnawing his nails, fear etched on his face. Night falls, and he hails a cab driven through the city. He discharges the cab, walking fast through the street. A woman approaches, offering a box of lights. He strikes her, sending her fleeing. He skulks through the less frequented thoroughfares. He counts the minutes until midnight, fear and hatred raging. Jekyll steps leisurely across the court after breakfast. He feels the chill of the air and enjoys it. Suddenly, Jekyll is seized by sensations heralding the change. He rushes to his cabinet, transforming into Hyde. Hyde rages and freezes with intense passions. Jekyll struggles to regain control, needing a double dose of the drug. 6 hours later, Jekyll sits by the fire, looking sad. The pangs return, and he must re-administer the drug. Jekyll becomes weak and feverish, haunted by the horror of Hyde. When Jekyll sleeps, he awakens as Hyde, filled with terror and hatred. Hyde's powers grow stronger as Jekyll weakens. Jekyll sees Hyde as a hellish, inorganic creature. Hyde resents Jekyll's dislike and plays cruel tricks. Hyde scrawls blasphemies in Jekyll's books and destroys his belongings. Despite his fear of death, Hyde's love of life is strong. Jekyll finds a strange pity for Hyde's abject passion. Dr. Jekyll sits alone in his study, his face etched with despair. It is useless to prolong this description. He looks at the mirror, seeing his altered reflection. No one has ever suffered such torments. He picks up a vial of powder, shaking it gently. My provision of the salt began to run low. He mixes the powder with water, watching it bubble. I sent out for a fresh supply, but it was in vain. He drinks the mixture, his expression hopeful. It was without efficiency. He slumps back in his chair, defeated. This is the last time I can think my own thoughts. He looks at the mirror again, seeing his reflection change. I must finish this statement quickly. He writes furiously on a piece of paper. Hyde will tear it in pieces if he finds me writing. He seals the paper, his hands trembling. This is my true hour of death. He looks out the window, his eyes filled with resignation.